insane, and it's just crazy. So I'm very grateful for you and to be here with all of you women. I mean, like, this is an insane group, and I feel so loved and supported already. So thank you all for living your lives in the way that you did to bring you here today and to bring us together today. So I have papers just to keep me on track, but we kind of already dropped in. So, and I invite you to take another little breath if you want. I'm going to because I need it. But I want to invite all of you to kind of reflect on a question as I share my story. And it's, who or what do you live for? What is your why? What is your purpose for being here? So, as Alyse said, I'm Lauren. I'm a musician, I'm a student. I graduated from Alignment Accelerator back in last spring. And I'm 22 years old, and I am a 2-time cancer survivor. Before I was diagnosed, I was in high school. I just graduated. I was 18. I was just living life and trying to plan, college and looking forward to what everybody told me would be the best years of my life in college. So things didn't really go according to that plan, but I was diagnosed shortly after I graduated. I had a slight fever, and I kind of just felt like something was off. I didn't really know what, but I went to the doctor, and also a bit of a hypochondriac, so I went straight to the doctor, and they noticed that my blood counts were off, too low, and so we went home that day, and they sent me to a specialist after that. And as we were driving up to the specialist, my mom, my dad, my brother came with me, and we pulled up to this building that said something along the lines of Cancer Center. And I had looked up, Googled what it could possibly be to have low blood counts, and it was either anemia or leukemia. And so when I pulled up to the center, everything in my being just kind of sunk. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is what, we're gonna find out today. And so we went inside and we sat at a round table with this doctor that I had just met. And I can remember everything about that moment. I can remember what his face looked like, what pictures he had on his table. And he sat down and told us that I had an aggressive form of leukemia, that I would need to start treatment immediately, straight to a hospital, where I would be in and out between like a week there on chemo, a week at home, and back and forth. And I just remember my parents breaking down. And I feel like my brother sitting next to me kind of lost like a piece of his childhood that day, and I wish I could take that away from them. But I kind of just sat there, and I didn't feel anything. Up to that point, I feel like I lived my life very in a box emotionally. As much as I was so centered around like growing and being this powerful being that I knew I was meant to be, I did not express my feelings, and I kept it all inside, and I didn't realize it at the time, but reflecting, that's what kept me so stuck for so long. And I put so much pressure on myself to get out of this stuck place, and why am I still always not pursuing YouTube and pursuing singing and my career and all of these things. And so when I sat there at this office, I think I really just felt nothing for the first couple minutes of him telling me what I was going to be going through. But then another part of me, somewhere like really deep down, that I hadn't really met before, felt peace. And as weird as that sounds, I really felt like, all right, this is what it is, I'm accepting it, and I'm gonna be fine. And I don't know if it was God, I feel like it was. I feel like it was an inner knowing, intuition that told me, you're gonna be fine. And regardless of what it was my declaration that I was gonna be fine and that I was gonna get through it. So in all of that, I learned so much, and I hope today, just before I get more into the story, that you all can take away some of the lessons that I have, that our difficulties are our greatest teachers. They're our greatest opportunities to learn and to meet ourselves fully and to love ourselves fully. all that you are as you are right now is enough for life, for anything. And love really is the source of all of our beings, and it's what carried me through everything. Just focusing on how much love I was surrounded by and how much love I had within me. But what I didn't realize was that I didn't have the self-love that everybody around me loved me so much. And so going through this first battle, I was able to see how much people cared for me and loved me and how much value they placed on me as a person. And I realized that I did not place that value in myself. And so being supported in such a way began my journey to valuing who I am and knowing that, my purpose here starts with me and that I am the greatest purpose that I can have first and foremost. So going through all of this, I really did learn to be all that I am, to love all that we experience in this life. And now I have a purpose greater than just what I thought it could be. It's sharing my story and being with all of you. So after this, diagnosis, going into my first battle, I didn't really realize what I had ahead. It ended up being many procedures, many spinal taps, being in and out of the hospital, being immunocompromised. So I pretty much isolated myself between being home with my family and being at the hospital. That was my life for 6 or 7 months. And before I really dove into this battle, I think that inner peace and that inner strength was a deep part of myself that was always there, but I had never really given credit to myself for. And all she could think at that time was, maybe I'm going through this for someone else. Maybe there's a kid out there that has their childhood to enjoy, and I'm strong enough to handle this battle, so I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be okay. So I think first and foremost, getting through a lot of that was in accepting it, in knowing that I had to decide right then and there what the outcome was gonna be, that I was gonna be okay, and deciding, what was my purpose gonna be for that battle. And at that time, I think a large part of my purpose, and pretty much my biggest purpose, was my mom and my dad and my brother and my family. They carried me. I mean, I just lived for them at that point, and I did it. And sorry, I have my papers here. But I went through a lot in that first battle. Like I said, procedures, medical mistakes that almost cost me my life many times. I lost my hair, and I would look in the mirror and just have no idea who I was looking at. It just all felt so real. But at the same time, I think that I didn't want to accept change. So as much as I accepted my battle and what I was about to be, and what I did go through with all of that, that stuck place that I was in emotionally, I feel like I lived emotionally out of a box at that point in my life. And so from living from that place, I didn't want to accept change. I didn't want to accept that all the work I had done to be the person that I was might change because I was going through such a big battle. I didn't want to accept that my body would change. Post chemo, I would have things that I would go through, that my hair would have to grow back for such a long time. And so not letting myself have the opportunity to see that I could grow. I did know that I could grow from this, but I was resistant to that change that it would bring. And so by living in this way and not really accepting the darker emotions that came with this battle, I kind of feel like I got through it so gracefully and so just, what I thought to be so well. I kept myself together, and I realized that I really put value in the person that I presented rather than the person that I was. And so this whole the first battle, I really just presented strength. I presented bravery. I just did it. And I didn't allow room for all of the dark emotions that were sitting inside of me, you know, the anger, the why is this happening to me, the grief. And by denying existence and acceptance to those emotions, I think I stayed stuck in that box that I lived out of emotionally up until that point in my life. So the first battle was a battle, to say the least, but I got through it and I survived and I became a cancer survivor, and even saying that at that time felt so foreign and kind of awkward, but I think that not accepting those dark emotions plunged me into fear. And so between my first battle and my second, I lived in such deep and immense fear that it was all going to happen again. And looking back now, I kind of feel like a part of me maybe knew that it would, but this fear manifested into many episodes of thinking that something was wrong again, even though I was in remission and doing okay and healing. I would have many days where it would be like, no, I know something's wrong. I have to go get my blood counts checked, and I would, and I'd be fine. And it'd be like cycling back and forth through this process. And so one day I had that worst fear come true. I kind of woke up that day and knew that something was wrong, that fatigue that I would feel from low blood counts during my first battle was back, and I didn't want to face what I had ahead, but I went to the ER. My mom took me, and we sat there for I don't even know how long, but the doctor eventually came in, and I could tell by the second he walked in that his face was, I could tell what he was going to say, and he said that I had relapsed. And my whole being just like left me. I feel like I associated so much in between my first and second battle with all the fear that I was living in. I associated relapse with death. Honestly, I really thought that I expended all of my strength in my first battle and that I would have nothing left to fight with during my second. And so when he told me that, I felt like it was a death sentence. I felt like he was telling me, like, everything you've been healing for and doing is just, that's it, you know, call it now. And so in that moment, I really knew that aside from the fact that I didn't think that I could get through it, I didn't want to. I lived my first battle so much for my family that I didn't live it. You know, my life for me didn't feel important. So when I was diagnosed a second time, if it wasn't for living for my family, I really would not have wanted to be here. I didn't see that the life I had ahead was worth going through cancer again. I didn't see that who I was worth going through it again. I just wanted to be done. I was tired. And so I think that going through this second battle and not being a part of my own purpose, I really had to reevaluate in order to get through that. And I had to ask myself, what am I going to get through this for? So in that ER room, I was thinking, you know, okay, if I get through this part, then I'm going to get through all of it. I'm going to decide before I leave this ER room and go up to the hospital floor where I'll be treated, start chemo again, all of the whole process that I dreaded. I knew that I had to decide what I was going to live for, and my family was it. They were, again, what I lived for initially. But my second battle, you know, really broke me down to the core of my being. I think being diagnosed again and having to face what my worst fear was shed all of the control that I had and that I clung to so desperately because I thought it's what made me me. I thought having control and presenting this, strong person was what gave me value and what made me who I am. But my second battle didn't leave me room to hold on to that control anymore. And so I broke down. I got angry. I didn't know who to be angry at. I got angry at God. I got angry at myself. And I just felt through all of the emotions that I needed to really just let go of that control and to just be. For the first time in my life, I think that I just let myself be. And so I knew that this darkness that I was feeling at the time, would bring me something greater. My mom would tell me that all the time. And for the beginning of my first battle, my second battle, I definitely resisted that reality, and I just wanted it not to be true. And I felt through all of the anger that I needed to. But when I decided to see it as happening for me rather than to me, I feel like that's when it changed. I went from thinking, why is this happening again? Maybe if I would have been better, maybe if I would have prayed more, maybe if I would have eaten healthier, maybe if I would have pursued my dreams without fear, that this would not be happening to me again. What did I do to bring this upon myself? And why was the world or God punishing me in this second battle? And so the second I decided to really see it as something for me is when I allowed all of my emotions to come through, and I allowed what this battle would bring to just happen. So I just found the strength, and to do that, I just fed myself whatever it was that I needed. Now, I fed my soul with Disney movies and things that would just make me smile. I spent as much time with the people that I loved to give me that emotional reserve, as my mom says, to carry me through and to give me the strength to get through it, even though I felt like my world was just shattered. And even though for the beginning part of that second battle that I felt like I was fighting for nothing because I felt like I wasn't going to get through it, it was the beauty that I found in life that started to carry me through and started to build up that strength again and that belief in myself again that I could do it. My second battle, though, did bring me a lot more difficulties than I signed up for. I experienced the consequences of a lot of hospital mistakes that then led me into septic shock and heart failure. So it brought a whole new meaning to the word unfair that I already was feeling. But I was in for an infection during my second battle, and that was, a normal thing going through leukemia. You kind of get sick and you get fever, you go into the hospital and you stay there for a while. The nurses at my first hospital that I was at did not care for me in a way that they needed to, and so my body with this infection just started to break down. My organs failed, my heart started to fail, and they told my family that I wasn't gonna make it. And I don't remember much of this part. And I wish that my family didn't remember this part with me, but that was probably the lowest of the low. I spent a while in the ICU trying to rebuild my strength. I couldn't even stand for more than a couple seconds. And I don't know how I got through that, to be honest. It was a lot. And I was so afraid of my second battle for the transplant that I would be having, which would give me a new chance at this life, a stem cell transplant. But it was the septic shock and heart failure that really broke me. And so I had to fight through both of those things to then fight through the cancer battle that I originally had. So it was definitely a breaking point. But it was in this complete loss of control that I had a choice. I had a choice to figure out, what I was gonna live for. And so when I asked all of you what you live for, how many of you thought of yourselves first? You can raise your hand. Okay, so not many, which is totally fine because that's where I was at. But now, looking back, of course I lived for my family and the beauty that they bring me every day. And now I live for this life. I live for the beauty of all the moments I have with my grandparents, making them laugh. I live for the little butterfly that flies past my car on my way to school. I live for all of the pieces of this life. And so losing control and having to break down to my lowest of low is what allowed me the space finally to break out of the box emotionally that I was living out of and to say, what is it that I'm really gonna live for? And so I finally became part of that. In facing the full spectrum of emotions that I had been needing to face after my first battle, that I had been so needing to face with love as well. I really did let myself break down, be afraid, cry, get angry. And for the first time in my life, I did let myself just be. And so I finally faced all of the parts of me that I thought would make me less of myself. And it brought me a value to who I am and a love and appreciation to how much I've gotten through now. And it was tough, but I got through it, and I became a part of my purpose. And I realized that I had been and always been worthy of being the first answer to that question. What do I live for? I can say myself. I live for the person that I am, for the person that so graciously got through 2 cancer battles. I live for the person that I'm gonna be, the person speaking now. And on focusing on the love that I felt through my family and the people that supported me, I realized that I'm worthy of giving that love to myself, more than worthy of that love. And so now I feel like I've developed this inner peace and this inner love that cannot be taken from me anymore. And I feel like it is just so important to develop that deep appreciation and love of yourself to carry you through anything in life. And if it can carry me through 2 cancer battles, septic shock, heart failure, having to rebuild my body and my soul after that, it can get you through anything that may come your way. And Alyse has been so incredibly important in my healing journey. I think that her program just mirrors everything that got me through what I did. I needed to shift the stories that I didn't have enough strength or that I wasn't enough to fight for. I needed to accept all of the pain and the emotions and the darker emotions that it brought with me, and accept that it's okay to feel them, and it made me more of myself than I've ever been. And now I feel like with your program, I can really look forward to the future and be excited to live for me and to live a life that I create. And it really is so special. So thank you.
Wow. Give it up for Lauryn today. So freaking proud of you.
Thank you.
how well spoken, how powerful.
Thank you. This is my first time public speaking, and I've never been one to really use my voice. And so having the opportunity to do it now feels so healing, and I feel like it's bringing me everything in this life that I've always had within me that I just felt stuck with by, not accepting all of those full spectrum of emotions. So
First time speaking. Is anyone else like, yo, this is a gift of yours? Complete natural.
thank you. I was actually nervous that I was like getting jumbled, so that makes me feel a lot better.
So well spoken, so beautifully shared. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to take a few moments if anyone has any reflections to share with Lauren. Any questions to ask Lauren? Go ahead.
I just want to say, like, we did that connection, like the energy work the other day, and we were paired up. I'm getting like emotional. Like, you're so seen, and like you have such a huge like impact that you're gonna make on the world. And, like, this is like the catalyst. You're gonna shoot to the stars.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means so much to me, and that just means a lot. Thank you.
Ask you when you experienced the fact that you needed to like shift your reality to create one for what you were going through. Did you heal from the cancer naturally, or did you use Western medicine?
Yeah, I did. I was treated with Western medicine. So essentially my body fought and healed from the cancer through Western medicine. But I really do think that my mindset, but also just the space that my soul was in realizing how much love I had around me and how much love I had within me, that I think is what healed me emotionally, but also physically. I don't think that I would have physically persevered through all of that had I not had that understanding of love, or started to develop that understanding of love throughout. So both. I think Western medicine obviously saved me, but I also think that what I fed my soul saved me that much more. Thank you. Thank you. It took a lot, but it was worth it. And I can really sit here now and say, like, I would do it again to have all that I have now and to know myself in the way that I do now. I feel like I've met myself for the first time in my life, and that feels so special, and it makes all of the hard times worth living through. And so whatever you're going through, I promise you, you're gonna come out of it that much stronger, that much more whole.
Any other last reflections or questions for Lauren?
But it's not necessarily a question. I just remember talking to you on Friday. You said you were going to be speaking and how nervous you were. And the moment you got up there, you shifted. Like, you just went with it, kind of similar to Alyse's style. Like, you found your comfort, you dropped in, you allowed yourself that space. What hit me was when you said, I value more the person I presented than who I was. And I think that's something we could all kind of take away. And it was a great one-liner, whether it was something that you truly lived, like you were explaining, and your strength is your example. I thought that was a really great insight that you had. And no, you did an amazing job, and we're all so happy to meet you, and happy that you were able to get up there. It's amazing that you were given this opportunity, but you made it happen. You talked to the right person, and then y'all did this together. So great job.
Thank you. That is so special. And you're totally right. I mean, everything you said meaningfully is so great. And also, I was so nervous coming up here, but I really did feel like it was meant to be. And to be speaking in front of a group of women that I literally feel like so much love and support. So you all made this also possible and comfortable and gave me the space to do it.
Got you, babe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to say something. Thank you for the love and support surrounding us, and I am so proud of you. She's the epitome of resilience, and you can get through anything in life. And when she was in that ER, and they told me to also prepare myself. My daughter wasn't going to make it through the night, that she was heart failure and all. I went into that ER room, and I gave her gratitude. All I did, I stayed calm, and I said, thank you for being so strong. I repeated those words over and over, and I truly believe that when you serve yourself with gratitude, that it will elevate you. And I remember during her first battle when she showed me the video of you, Alyse, and that was what she wanted. And who would have thought? Here we are. She's alive. She's thriving, and she's with the Holy Spirit.
Wow. All right. This is how we're starting day 2.